share?
Well, there are many things that can be learned from the Chinese experience, but broadly, I guess they can be grouped in terms of 5 categories. First is experience itself. It's good to have people in the room who face the threat directly, who can speak authoritatively without complete recourse to hypotheticals and theories. This promotes morale and confidence. It's like having experienced soldiers among new recruits. The second is to communicate directly without all the filters and posturing that happen inevitably when politicians get involved. Experts on the front lines together are concerned about saving lives and protecting their own, so politics and race and whatever other distractions are put aside and real work happens. Third, the Chinese experience can help accelerate discussion and implementation of what might or might not work in the Italian situation. Italy can't and probably doesn't want to attempt much of what China has done, and Chinese experts can help them work through those evaluations faster and provide advice on the tactics they implement. The fourth category deals with clinical responses, including sharing information about pathology and treatment regimens, but also how to handle testing, triage, cleanup, and so on. Fifth, finally, in addition to technical expertise, of course, China is sending supplies. How best to use these supplies, how to cache and ration them if necessary. These are all questions China has worked through and answers they can share as Italy battles COVID-19.
That's Professor Joseph Mahoney from East China Normal University. The EU's announced additional measures to limit the spread of COVID-19 as the coronavirus crisis deepens in Europe. The new measures include emergency funding of 7.5 billion euros, nearly 8.5 billion US dollars. It comes as Italy has declared a countrywide quarantine, with the number of cases surpassing 10,000. Lucy Hu has more from Brussels.
In a matter of weeks, the COVID-19 coronavirus has spread to all 27 EU member states. Some Eastern European countries have reported just a handful of cases. Others, like Italy and France, have infections running into the thousands. The EU has stepped up its efforts after criticism of its early response. A meeting of European leaders has taken place via video link, with a slew of measures announced to better coordinate the bloc's response and deal with the economic damage. EU Council President Charles Michel said additional funding of 7.5 billion euros was designed to help healthcare systems and sectors hit hard by the virus.
Member States agree that our citizens' health is the first priority and that measures should be based on science and medical advice. Measures need to be proportional so that don't have excessive consequences for our societies as a whole.
A high-level call took place after Italy's decision to place the entire country of 60 million people on lockdown, a G7 economy and the world's 5th most visited country. All schools and universities have been closed until at least April the 3rd, with mass gatherings banned and strict curfews for bars and restaurants. EU Health Commissioner Stella Kyriakides said individual governments like Italy were being forced to take drastic steps.
The measures we are seeing are impacting on our citizens, on their everyday lives, on the economy, on business. It is not an easy situation to live, and the decisions taken by government are not taken lightly. But when necessary and justified, although tough, these decisions need to be followed by the letter.
As the impact of the coronavirus deepens for the aviation industry, the EU has suspended rules that regulate lucrative takeoff and landing slots. The EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said this would stop airlines flying empty planes simply to avoid their slots being cancelled.
We want to make it easier for airlines to keep their airport slots, even if they do not operate flights in those slots because of the declining traffic. This is a temporary measure, and this temporary measure helps both our industry, but it also helps our environment. It will relieve the pressure on the aviation industry, and in particular on smaller airline companies, but it will also decrease emissions by avoiding the so-called ghost flights.
The hit to the tourism industry alone is already costing the EU €1 billion every month, with growing lingering fears of a deep recession in the Eurozone, the European Central Bank is expected to follow the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England in cutting interest rates. But some European analysts are saying monetary policy will not be enough to prevent a continued downturn due to the global disruption. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Lucy Hoff in Brussels.
UK's Chancellor of the Exchequer's unveiled a £30 billion package, or $39 billion, to help the economy get through the coronavirus outbreak. In his annual budget, Rishi Sunak warned of a significant disruption to the British economy, but vowed that the nation will get through it together. UK correspondent Benji Heyer has this report from London.
39-year-old Finance Minister Rishi Sunak's only been in the job for a month, yet he's already been tasked with reassuring the nation amid growing concerns about how coronavirus is affecting the economy.
I know how worried people are. Worried about their health, the health of their loved friends, their job, their income, their businesses, their financial security. And I know they get even more worried when they turn on their TV and hear talk of markets collapsing and difficult times coming. What everyone needs to know is that we are doing everything we can to keep this country and our people healthy and financially secure.
The Chancellor set out the government's economic response to coronavirus on Wednesday, pledging whatever money necessary to ensure the UK's National Health Service is properly funded.
Whether it's research for a vaccine, recruiting thousands of returning staff, or supporting our brilliant doctors and nurses, whether it's millions of pounds or billions of pounds, whatever it needs, whatever it costs, we stand behind our NHS.
He also guaranteed sick pay and easier access to benefits for people who have to stay at home to self-isolate due to the coronavirus pandemic. It's been seen as a generous set of commitments, and one that will leave the business community feeling optimistic, according to Craig Beaumont of the Federation of Small Businesses.
You've got business rates, employment allowance, entrepreneurs relief, and coronavirus. I struggled to find things we didn't get. So I think overall, we are very happy after today.
Yet all these promises come at a cost. £7 billion, the equivalent of $9 billion, has been promised to help businesses and those who are most vulnerable to the impact of the virus. This, alongside more healthcare funding, makes for a £30 billion or $39 billion fiscal stimulus, a level of additional spending and borrowing not seen in years after a whole decade of cuts. And despite this, UK growth forecasts have been revised down for 3 of the next 4 years. That's before adjusting for the repercussions of coronavirus. The economy is predicted to grow just 1.1% this year, without taking into account expected losses from Covid-19. Leader of the opposition Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, thinks the fiscally extravagant budget is an admission of failure.
We're going into this crisis with our public services on their knees, with a fundamentally weak economy, which is now flatlining, with zero growth even before the impact of coronavirus.
The budget follows a decision by the UK Central Bank to slash the interest rate by over a half. The Bank of England Governor Mark Carney believes lowering the rate from 0.75% to 0.25% will help boost economic confidence. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Benji Heyer in London.
The State University of New York and City University of New York will shift to online classes starting from March 19th in response to the coronavirus outbreak. Governor Andrew Cuomo says the move will help to reduce the spread of the virus.
CUNY will help reduce the density in New York City. SUNY will help reduce the density in downstate New York. That's SUNY Purchase, it's Stony Brook, it's Westbury, etc. Downstate is where we have the highest density of cases now. So SUNY and CUNY closing March 19th. Thereabouts. There are some different campuses. There may be some variability, but that will be a way to reduce density, and that is a good thing.
Cuomo says the universities will continue the distance learning model for the remainder of the spring semester. The 2 public universities join a number of institutions, including private universities, that have now switched to remote classes in coronavirus hit New York, Seattle, and California. The number of coronavirus cases in the state of New York has increased to 212. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up, Ethiopia has marked 1 year since the deadly crash of a passenger plane outside the capital.
You're listening to the Beijing Hour. 60 minutes of comprehensive news. Your window on China and the world.
23 minutes past the hour. Family and friends of the 157 victims of the Ethiopian Airlines crash 1 year ago have remembered their loved ones in a ceremony held in Addis Ababa. The airline paid for up to 4 relatives of each victim to come to the capital and visit the crash site outside of the city. Coletta Wenjohi reports from the city.
Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX plane crashed on 10th March last year with all the 157 on board losing their lives. 8 crew members and 147 passengers of 35 nationalities were headed to Nairobi from Addis Ababa. The Executive Secretary of the UN Economic Commission for Africa, Vera Songwe, led her colleagues in a memorial ceremony with the family members of the 21 staff that the UN lost in the accident.
Each one of us, in our quiet moments, have remembered our colleagues, our friends, wives, mothers, brothers that passed away on that fateful day.
Ethiopian Airlines says its 737 MAX planes remain grounded along with all other models of the jet worldwide. The Chief Executive Officer of the airline, Tewolde Gebremariam, says there is no definite timeline for them to start flying again.
So we will, as and when Boeing decided and gives us the exact date when the airplane is going to fly back, then we will make the assessment. Will we be able to convince our crew, our pilots, our customers, and how long does it take us? And those kind of questions we'll be answering at that time. At this moment, we are waiting for the final decision of the airplane.
Ethiopia has since put the blame on Boeing, the aircraft manufacturer. Interim investigations into the crash by the Ethiopia Investigations Bureau suggest that the plane developed a malfunction. Kaliesus Bekele is an aviation journalist.
The MCAS design, the flight control system, the MCAS design, which depends on a single angle of attack sensor, made the MCAS vulnerable to uncommanded activation, undesired or uncommanded activation, which leads to the uncommanded nosedive movement.
The March 2019 disaster came just 5 months after a similar model Boeing operated by Lion Air in Indonesia crashed. Boeing last year announced that it would offer $100 million of assistance for the 346 victims of both accidents. Some of the money would be given directly to relatives, and part of it would be used for community projects around the crash sites. Some relatives refused the compensation and sued the company. For Beijing Hour, I'm Coletta Wanjohi in Addis Ababa.
U.S. Ambassador to Libya Richard Norland has expressed concern over the fragile ceasefire in and around the capital, Tripoli. Norland made the remarks during a meeting with the UN-backed Libyan Prime Minister in South Africa. They discussed international efforts in support of political solutions to the Libyan conflict. The eastern-based army has been leading a military campaign since April last year in and around Tripoli, attempting to take over the city and topple the UN-backed government. The fighting's killed and injured thousands of people and forced more than 150,000 people to flee their homes. The rivals agreed to a ceasefire on January the 12th. However, both parties have exchanged accusations of breaching the truce. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis is calling on Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to stop encouraging migrants in Turkey to cross into Greece. Mitsotakis says Turkey has to pull back migrants who've gathered in the Evros region if it wants to review a 2016 pact agreed on with the European Union to stem the flow of migrants towards Europe. He made the remarks in Berlin after a meeting with German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Greece always recognizes that Turkey has a critical role to play in handling of the refugee problem, and it needs the help of Europe to do it. But this cannot happen under the conditions of threats and blackmail using fleeing people as points.
Turkey hosts around 3.6 million refugees from Syria right now. Beijing today, cloudy skies and a high of 14 degrees Celsius. It'll dip down to -3 tonight. Chongqing's mostly cloudy and 17, a low of 13. Laos is getting sunshine and 9, a low of -4. Hong Kong's cloudy and 23, a low of 22. In North America, Washington, D.C. is mostly cloudy and 18 degrees Celsius. New York City is cloudy and 9 degrees Celsius. In Africa, Nairobi's getting clouds and 22. And finally to Oceania, Port Vila is getting thunderstorms and 29 degrees Celsius. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, COVID-19 has been declared a global pandemic, but the World Health Organization says the course of the disease can still be changed. The Chinese government will take more steps to keep foreign trade and investment stable amid the COVID-19 outbreak. And Ethiopia has marked the first anniversary of a deadly plane crash near the country's capital. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.